Well, we've got a special guest in the house. Trinell is here. Everybody wave.
Yeah.
Hey,
Janelle! Woo!
Trinell's a longtime Ziegler fan. You need to go and follow him. What's your Facebook page, Trinell?
Just type in Trinell Walker and just I'm on there.
Trinell Walker.
Trenell.
He's very inspiring. He comes by from time to time. He's one of the guys that keeps me going. I appreciate all that he does. And he was just wandering around the neighborhood and ended up here. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. It's the law of attraction.
The law of attraction. Trinell lives up in probably about an hour and 15 minutes from here. Is that about right?
Yes, sir.
So, glad you're here. We've got an exciting, one more thing. Scott Erickson is actually in the back office in the corner back there. He's working out of there today. He just got here a little while ago. So if you have any website questions, or if you
can pull up.
look to go to him on the breaks or during lunch, he'll be there. So if you want to follow up with Scott. And now we've got Mr. Rodney. Come on over here, brother.
Woo!
Let's give Rodney a big. He's going to close us off, and when we were down and we did the event in Houston, I just want to say this. I learned some things when he taught. There's some things that he did in that group that were really good. So cool. I'm looking forward to you sharing your training style and wisdom with everybody here. How many of you have learned something from every trainer we've had on? Isn't this awesome? So this is actually a best practice from the industry. Okay, there are other groups, franchise organizations who have training, and when they bring people together, they'll have trainers who go out and do it every day and come up and train. Right, so you can learn from that. So Rodney, take us away, bro.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. First time I've ever been said that I was going to impart wisdom on somebody. It's like, no pressure at all. Hey, and I got to tell you, just with the way that the day's been going, I mean, anybody feel like climbing some stairs?
Yeah, man.
I mean, honestly, and so with that in mind, climbing some stairs, who's got a little bit of energy this afternoon that they'd like to spend just a little bit kind of growing a little bit? Anybody ready? All right. So anybody competitive in this group? Do we have anybody at all?
I'm more competitive than anybody else.
Tammy's so competitive that she raised her hand first. She wanted to make sure that she knew, that everybody knew that Tammy, you won. Yes. Without a doubt. So how many of you want to make sure? You know, you hadn't won anything yet. I mean, come on, Gary. So he's like over here pitching for her. He's going, ask him what you want. Find out. All right. So here's what we're going to do, just to have a little bit of fun. All right. We got something we're going to do here in just a minute. But I want to kind of lay the stage. I want to set the stage, get the table all set up for you guys, and just kind of build on what we've talked about so far. So we started out with self-image, right? Right? So how many of you guys got some really great tools to work on the self-image? So one of the things that I learned, and you guys let me know if you think that this kind of goes along with, one of the things that I learned when I went through this course the first time was how responsible I was to other people on impacting their self-image as well. Because, see, I think that that's something that we forget about quite a bit, is that it's not about us. I mean, you wake up every morning and wish it was. It'd be a lot easier, wouldn't it? Because, see, we wouldn't have to focus as much. Of course, we go to the next step. Relationships with others is kind of the same. Goals, we learned about setting some goals here and had some really good work with that. Of course, attitude, learned about a lot about. And now, all these are really great tools, right? But if you don't actually put them, bless you. Anybody in here sneeze besides me and feel like it was the most blessed day you ever had? Well, it was like, bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you. So attitude's great, but if we have a great self-image, we have great relationships with others, and we have a great attitude, what can we accomplish? I'm hearing everything, right? Okay, so if that's all we have, what can we accomplish? Not much, right? Because it doesn't just happen by itself. Something has to go into play to make that come in and actually come to fruition, right? So we actually have to, it's a four-letter word, we actually have to work, right? When they started talking about four-letter words, I didn't know that was one of them, right? It's like, what? Oh, darn. We have to work. And see, one of the things that I think that we've all found out, anybody ever started an exercise program before? Started, right, it started. Come on, everybody should raise their hand on who started an exercise program. Last week? Who started them more than once? Yeah. Well, I'd say who finished, but you never actually finished that one, right? So, you know, one of my mentors, Mr. Zig Ziglar, anybody heard of him? I love this group. It's pretty easy to get the answers you want. But so Zig Ziglar had obviously a goal. Mr. Ziglar said that, you know, I'm going to write a book. And when he started writing the book, the first thing he wrote was what size clothes he wore and how much he weighed. The problem was that wasn't really what size clothes he wore and how much he weighed. And so he went and he told the redhead he was going to start an exercise program. Now, of course, after she said, oh my God, you're not going to embarrass me in front of the neighbors, so here's some clothes, it was time to start jogging. I bet you guys know the moral of this story. But see, when he first started jogging, he wasn't in shape. And he probably did like a lot of us did. He took off and he went around the block and he said, you know, I made the block, but I'm going to go to one more mailbox. Right? And then day 2, right? Justin, you work out a lot, right? You go to the gym. What's always the goal? Do more than you did the time before, right? And it's always if you've got a trainer. Anybody ever worked with a trainer? Yep. What do they always tell you, Julie? Give me one more. You can do it. You can do it. And then after you give that one more, what do they usually say? Give me another one. And see, that's what I expect from this group. I expect that you guys, because you're overachievers, that's why you're here, I expect that you guys not only are going to go out and give one more, you're going to give us another. And see, that's the principle behind blocking a mailbox. If you guys will turn to page 18 in your book, there's a couple of really cool quotes there. And my son and I were talking about this the other day. And you know, he works for an insurance company and just there's some changes going on. And of course, you know, being in this part of the country, there's been a lot of hailstorms and a lot of damage and a lot of cars. And he's on the automotive side. And he was talking about the level of extra work they were having to do. The extra days and all of those things. And just, I know some of you, I've talked to a couple of folks in the room that had some car accidents lately, and you weren't happy necessarily about the results of the insurance payout and that sort of thing. Well, I know the other side because they're working 18-hour days and 19-hour days and this sort of thing when the hailstorms come through. And I told him, I said, hey, have you ever heard this quote? And you guys, if you look at the top of page 18, I'm going to read it. It says, when we do more than we're paid to do, eventually we'll get paid more for what we do. That's pretty cool, right? And see, then Darnell Johnson kind of had one that goes with that, and this one's great. It says, success can be defined in 3 simple words, and then some, plus one more, right? The top people did what was expected of them, and then some. They were considerate and kind, and then some. They were good friends, helpful neighbors, and then some. See, that's what it's really all about, right? You guys have any examples maybe you could think of? Anybody want to share? I won't call on anybody. You guys can just volunteer. But anybody have an example of a time in your life when you were in a position where you said, you know what, if I just do this, if I just do this. Anybody got an and then some example in their life they want to share? Mr. Partridge.
So in my first business, before I really figured out my pricing and all this kind of stuff, I get a phone call. It should be like a minimum project, and I get there and it's like huge and it has all these issues and stuff. And there was a moment of integrity right then and there. And what so many people would do is they would say, well, you know, I didn't know this or I didn't know that. And it wasn't her fault that I didn't have a pricing system, right? And I didn't know what I was doing, right? And so I just smiled and got to work and did over and above what I should have necessarily done. And that lady happened to be the facilitator, the facilities manager for the largest branch banking system in Texas at the time. And the very next day became my largest account. Wow.
Nice. Wow. Great example. Great example, because we never know who we're talking to, right? And see, I think that you know, as the universe was made and God created the universe and created us, He wrote some laws in there They're not actually in writing anywhere, but they are the laws of the universe. And I do believe that that's the case. When we do more than really we're expected to do at that time, we will get the benefits later. And see, that's what it's about. And I love your story. Thanks, Howard. Anybody else have one that they want to contribute?
Yeah, I met Howard here and then some. I took him to lunch after church one Sunday, and he bought a house from me.
Nice! Woo! What a deal!
Now, hey, that one lunch that she took me to changed my life.
Yes.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So you just never know. You never know. And see, here's the key, though. Here's the key.
Come, I'll take you too.
So afterwards, we're all going to lunch with Cynthia.
With Cynthia.
But you got to come to Santa Rosa Beach to do
That's
it.
right.
Right. And then the only rule, of course, is because of what happened with Howard, she's going to be expecting you to buy a house. So just be careful if you show
Now,
up.
there are no expectations.
Oh. Right. So see, here's the thing, though, too, is when Howard went that extra step for that client, was he expecting something in return? No. When Cynthia took Howard to lunch, I mean, yeah, expecting to have lunch,
Yeah.
but you certainly weren't expecting him to buy a house, were
He
you?
called me a little bit later on, and he said, I am so glad you told me about this place. We went in and wrote a contract.
Sweet. Right? So that's the way it works. And see, that's kind of all rolls into the block in the mailbox principle, right? I love that. I love that phrase, block in the mailbox principle, or the one more principle, or the and then some principle. And what I want to do is I want to spend a little bit of time just with you guys, having the ability to kind of demonstrate that, if you will, but you got to think really hard. Who could say that they could remember most of what I've said the last couple of minutes? Because there was one really important part that I said. Who thinks they've got it? I'll help you with the hard ones. This is when you raise your hand and you go, me, I got it. No? Okay, well, we're going to find out how good you got it. So here we go. We're going to do an activity. We're going to split up, and we're going to go into teams. And so here's what we're going to do. Okay? So I want you to look behind you. Okay? All right? Every other row, look behind you. How about that one? That one's a little bit better. All right, row one, you're going to hook up with row two, but it's just pairs. All right? So, Tammy, are you good to go? You're not playing. Okay, so we're going to have to find, maybe we'll split this up. Essentially, here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to split into pairs, okay? And just pick a partner. I know that Tammy's not going to participate. Anybody else not going to participate? Okay, Julie's not going to participate. Okay, all right, everybody stand up. Stand up, really important. All right, here's what I want you to do. Does everybody have a partner? Everybody have a partner? Okay. Just find somebody, it's okay. Just find somebody in the room. Make sure.
Y'all got a partner? Okay.
Okay, does everybody have a partner? If you don't have a partner, raise your hand.
Yeah, I got one. I don't have one. You got one? Yep.
All right, and so just so everybody knows what's going to happen next week, everybody's invited to the wedding. Kanya and David. All
He's coloring. He's just...
right, does everybody have a partner, or James, you still need one?
No, I got Howard.
Okay, sweet. All right, well,
How much you going to pay me, Chief?
good luck with that. He's going to take you to get a haircut. Huh? What do we? Okay. Everybody has a partner already, I think.
I charge $1.
Mike?
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington? He's a judge. He's a judge. Okay, Tony, I can be your partner. Okay. All right. So here's the deal. Everybody listen up. Eyes up here. Eyes up here. Here's the deal. We have strategically, very strategically placed stations around the office here, down the hallway. This is an event of epic proportion. So they are very strategically placed. Did y'all get that? You have to go to each station. You have to complete the activity at each station. The person there is the judge. You cannot argue with the judge. They will tell you whether you did it correctly or not. You cannot go on to the next one until you complete the activity. Everybody clear? Everybody got it? All right. So the winners, the first ones that will go through, and one of the stations is up here, by the way, just to let you know, the rest of them are around through the hallway and through the building. The first one to finish and get back up here to me, right, will be the winner. And there is a very special prize involved. Very special prize involved. So, are you ready? Yes, sir.
Where do we go first?
Where do you go first? You can go wherever you want first, so that way we're not waiting in line to do it.
Somebody else is already there.
Well, you're going to wait in line because we don't have enough stations. We don't have 18 stations. We have 8 stations that you have to complete. So 8 stations. Make sure you complete all 8. So are you ready? Yes. Are you sure you're ready? Yes. On your mark. I didn't say go. No, I just said on your mark. On your mark, get set, go. Thank you.
Easier said than done with this board.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, come on.
Hey, so most people are going to not get it right because what did I say to you? I said, give me one more and then give me another one.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's okay. Let them do it. Okay? And then I want to ask them when they get home. So that's why I asked, I said, who was listening? Who was paying attention? The way Tom introduced me, they were probably expecting me to do something very profound in the beginning. It's like, go ahead, do it.
Great.
We're waiting. We're still waiting. Go ahead. What's that? For Christmas, we were shopping and we found a set of daddy socks, little kid socks. So we got those for Joey and Cooper, so it was pretty cool. Pretty cool. See how the process is going. How we doing back here?
Station free. Station free.
Come on, Tiger. You can do it. Don't worry about her breaking your car window. It's okay.
I won.
Hey, we're all in.
What are we doing? We gotta do what?
How many times have I done this? This exact one? I have not done this presentation with a group. I've done some of the other ones, but not which. Goal setting and the friends and the building relationships. Yep. And I kind of have converted. I've kind of changed how I market the relationships one because I basically did me a little word that's REAL, relationships. So real as in big letters, as in everything a realtor needs to know about real estate. You can learn through developing real relationships. Oh, it's genius. It was genius. It's genius. So I got lots of them. That's what happens when you're born ADD and you can't focus on stuff. Your brain just goes. You just got to remember to write it down when you think of it. Yep. Yep. Oh, good, Mikey. She loves you. Woo! Woohoo! I think they want to win. What do you think? Man. It's like, wow.
Go back.
Man was the second the board to win. You want us to win, prepare to win. I'm so
Hey, can I heist a couple of quote books?
A what book?
A couple of quote books? Two quote books? Here.
No,
No.
we got one here.
I'll get it.
What happened?
Where can I heist a couple of quote books in there? The little quote books? They in there?
Nobody counted. Look big. Loads of books and stuff. I gave them from Rodney.
Okay, will do.
Or just put them up on the podium. Thank you, Mike.
Oh, you got him?
I just found them.
He just found 'em.
I was wandering around all over the place. Thanks, Mikey.
Over here. You know what's yummy.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
1, 2, 3, and 4.
Everybody's doing the and one more because they think they got it figured out, don't they?
This one works good when people don't know each other too.
Mm-hmm. These are officially forged with a signature by Mr. Ziegler himself.
Oh, it's so hard. Yay! Don't miss Cindy. Oh, where's Cindy? Come on. Or you keep going and come back. You gotta come back.
So that's officially a forged signature. I would have had him sign them himself, but he's not here today, so.
Oh.
Give me 3 jumping jacks. Ready, and. Woo! 3, and one more. Yay!
How about the cheerleader? Ready and. Ready and.
I'll do, but
You're done.
okay, all done.
Sweet.
Can you do any more? Can you do any more?
There you go. There you go. That's the guy right there. That's it. How we doing on the quotes?
5.
I know. I threw a trick in there though, so what? So I did. We'll see who. So I was telling Julie, I said, I took on one of the Post-its and I wrote Zig Ziglar and I stuck it inside those quote books because that's going to be their gift and I'm going to tell them that they're getting an officially forged autograph. And she said, you want a pretty good Ziglar signature, a Zig signature, go get Lori. She can. I can imagine. Well, you know, these days it's all electronic, you know. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. That was a have to. Mm-hmm. Well, it's you know, I sign a lot of documents electronically.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I have my signature that I scanned in and put into this program. And so it's, you know, on any PDF file, if I need to sign it, all I can do is open it up and then you just click up here and you drag this and stamp it in there. So, you know, the only thing I do is I always alter because you can alter the size of it just a little bit.
Yeah.
So that way, if they ever compare it, it's just a little, it looks exactly the same, it's just stretched a little bit. So,
I think the one's in the break room.
break room. Hello.
I don't just stand around the hallway when it's talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then some. All right.
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
We're done. I want a prize of unspeakable value.
Unspeakable value.
Oh, it's unspeakable value without a doubt.
That's what the Scoutmaster does. He'll do the
All of it, too. Losers! All losers, come in and sit down, please.
Well, so we're gonna do a skit.
Wait, I counted 8.
We're gonna do a skit here in just a minute about
Hey, I didn't even want to play. You know why?
because you knew
You
you'd
know why I
win
didn't want to
because
play?
it wasn't fair. It
Because
wasn't
I knew
fair
we'd smoke y'all.
because it wasn't fair. That's right.
Not fair, man. I did all this before.
Yeah. Now, so here's my question:
No
is
respect.
how close were you listening to what I said?
We're
Very
done.
close.
What do I win?
What would you like to
They
know?
already won.
What did Julie and I have a conversation about?
And then some?
Wait, you let it.
Did it stop there? And did it stop there?
No, then
We are the champions.
But nobody did. It's okay. Huh? Well, see, everybody did the and one, but the trainer always says, "Give me one more. Let's do another."
yeah, we did that.
You did the 2 extra?
Oh, man.
You're not gonna get us in front of everybody, are you? I know.
No, I'm gonna get everybody. I'm gonna get everybody at the same time. Don't worry, I'm gonna get everybody at the same time. I was trying to figure out how can I make this exercise just a little bit different.
Unfair.
We'll be modest, but this is the position I need to be in.
You're second.
Hey, you did good.
I think it was rigged.
Okay, here you go.
Thank you very much.
Get used to bring the carpet.
Hey,
Get coffee. Get used to bring the carpet.
That was it.
Don't be a hater. Don't be a hater.
don't be a hater, man.
That's right.
Listen, no whining, okay?
Oh, we gotta put a circle and an X around it. Yeah.
Hey guys, it's over.
Come on, guys. Okay.
You didn't start till, wait, about 11. You don't have to take all that time.
Hey, you like my Freddie
You're
Mercury
90 minutes
haircut?
until 12. You want to get an answer before then?
Keep them interested. I promise. Because if I lose interest, we're gonna be done. So if I do, they will. So. Okay. Do we have everybody back?
Hey, no whining, losers. I mean, that's good.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Y'all are gonna miss the awards ceremony.
Get a prize of unspeakable value.
Hey, no whining.
All right. All right, guys. All right. So who had a good time doing that? Who had fun? All right. So I would like to introduce to you our winners. They're both pegged with a big W that's been emblazed upon their head. The W stands for two things. The W stands for two things. Number one, it stands for winner, which if I could, I'd give each and every one of you a big W badge to put on. So,
But you can't have it. It's none of you.
but now the other thing that it stands for is no whining losers. That's all I can say. That's what they said. So, all right. So the prize, I promised a prize. Okay. These are, now listen, you guys got to really pay close attention to this. These are original signed quote books with Zig Ziglar quotes that are officially forged on the inside with a signature by Zig Ziglar. There's one for you and there's one for you. Woo! Officially forged.
Officially forged.
A genuine forged signature on a removable. So thank you guys. Congratulations.
That's it?
That's it. What else do you want? A hug? No.
The fame and fortune wasn't enough?
We want to give the championship speech.
Okay. All right. So basically, let me think about that for just a second, Howard. No. So.
This is why I didn't want to place. You know what I'm saying?
Want to get ready for
Okay. I know, right?
I know, right?
All right. The W is for no whining, Howard. No whining.
I'm teasing. That was fun.
All right. So here's what I want to find out really quick. In the race to the finish, who can honestly say that they paid close attention to the conversation that Julie and I had right before we started this conversation? And Mr. Partridge, you and I already had this conversation, so I'm not going to call on you. So who went through, of course, and we all did the and then some, right? Because we'd all done this exercise before, am I right? Yeah. And it was still fun, wasn't it? We had a great time. So who remembers what Julie and I talked about that I said, please pay attention? Who remembers what the conversation was that Julie and I had? Okay, so we're going to roll back the tape. So Julie.
That was pretty good.
Y'all want to see that again? Yeah. We're going to roll back the tape.
Sorry, one more time.
No, I'm all out of rewind. It's just. So Julie and I had a conversation. I said, Julie, you go to a trainer. And so when you're exercising and your trainer, and you get to that point and your trainer says, what? One more. And then what do they say? Give me another one. Give me another one. See, here's why I want to do this exercise with you guys, because I think that because everyone in this room, to some extent, we should all hold ourselves to a higher standard of the effort that we give. Does anybody agree? Yes. Okay. And while we can't always measure by saying one more, or one more, or one more, we can definitely measure in the amount of effort that we give on a consistent basis. James talked earlier about step by step, little step, little step, little step, little step all the time. Am I right? And I think that that's something we have to really focus on. We have to make sure that every day we're paying attention to finish, but not necessarily finish. We're racing to the finish. We want to keep going and going and going. And we want to make sure that through that race, our goal remains consistent. Because, of course, Zig Ziglar said, you can have everything in life you want. You'll help everyone else get what they want. So it's a beautiful thing. So let's turn to page 20, okay, guys? This is something I think a lot of people struggle with because, growing up, I was taught what I believe to be a fairly good work ethic. And I worked a lot of hours in my younger years, and I believe that that's what you do. You get up and you go to work, and you go to work, and you go to work. And I know there's a lot of you in the room that do the same thing. So I know that we're on the same basis here. The one thing that I don't think I was taught well was the desire to work. I mean, by nature, I'll be honest with you, I'm lazy. Anybody besides me lazy? Would you rather lay on the couch and just not mow the yard or not clean the house or any of those things? Right? Yeah, I know a few of you would raise your hand, but that's too much effort, so you're a little lazy to raise your hand. Yeah. And so, when we start talking about desire, we've got to have that desire developed in order to put the effort in to do the work. Because you can work, but if you don't really have the desire to be successful or to succeed or to actually fulfill what you're trying to accomplish, is it going to be worthwhile to you to do the work? Do you think you'll actually accomplish what you're trying to accomplish without the desire to make it work? I mean, think about it. There's a lot of studies that have been done, a lot of things that have been analyzed over the years, and when we start looking at just something as simple as something we see every day, we hear talked about all the time, the bumblebee. Now, personally, every time I look at this slide, I have a picture of John Belushi in Saturday Night Live in the bumblebee costume. For the five of us that watch that show, we're all laughing together, aren't we? Everybody else is going, what? What is that show? And if you look at this, everybody knows who John Belushi was, correct? Am I right? Okay, he was shaped about like that, wasn't he? He's about that tall, he's about that wide, right? And if you put a pair of wings on him that were about that big, that's what he'd look like, isn't it? Some of you are letting that sink in and the laughter's coming later. It's okay. Here's the point. We get told all the time that there's things we can't do. I think it starts, I did this as a parent. I didn't mean to. I didn't know any better. Don't do that. You'll poke your eye out. Don't do a backflip. You'll break your neck. It's all the time. There's things we can't do. Am I right? Who tried them anyway? Right? Okay? See, overachievers. It's all good. See, here's what I call that. This isn't just me, but intelligent ignorance. Who'd like to proudly say that they are ignorant? I was just wondering who'd raise their hand to that one, actually, in all honesty. Good job, Gary.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What? I don't get it. Page 20, guys. Turn to page 20 for me. Zig Ziglar said, you can go where you want to go, do what you want to do, and be what you want to be. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Without a doubt. People who don't know what cannot be done so often go ahead and do it. Who in this room are the doers? Who's the doers? Me. We got a room full of doers, right? And of course, I'm blessed because I'm getting to teach a class to a room full of doers. Of course, sometimes you go to one of these things and everybody's going, oh my God, I hope he doesn't look at me. Makes it fun though, right? But see, they did a lot of studies and they got all these engineers together, and I'm thinking a lot of them were from A&M, I'm not positive. Maybe some of them were from LSU or a few other places, and they took a look at the bumblebee, and guess what? They said it can't fly. There's no way that it should be able to fly. You see, there's something about a bumblebee that makes it be able to fly. Anybody know what it is? It doesn't know it can't because it's driven by desire. What's the desire of a bumblebee? To fly, but why? Right? Chase the dream, get honey, fly around. Anybody else got an idea? To sting you? Find a girlfriend.
Or a boyfriend.
Boyfriend. Okay, so here's the fascinating thing about the bumblebee. They have one job and one job only. That job was assigned to them genetically. Their job is to serve the queen. My son recently bought a house in Keller, and it was really interesting. So you go through the home buying process. I'm sure a lot of you have done this. And you spend time staring at things, don't you? You miss a lot of stuff, but you look and you make sure. And one of the first things I noticed when we first looked at this house with him was that the front trees needed to be trimmed. Okay, for those of you that don't know, that is something that I do. I'm a realtor by day and Superman by night, so that's what we do. But it's just curb appearance and all these things. You just notice these things. And the trees needed to be trimmed. And so that was, we were going through this list. You're going to need to trim the trees. You're going to need to work on the drainage here. You're going to need to do a few of these other things. So, it was on the list. I know I'd looked at the trees. So he's moving in. The movers have just left, and I hear this humming sound coming from outside. I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? A transformer hums or something. I didn't know what was going on. It's like, is there an electrical short? What's going on? And this humming sound was coming from one of the trees in the front yard. And I look up in the tree, and I kid you not, there is a swarm of bees that is this big by this big around. And it's like a live, living thing. Okay? And the limbs are kind of shaking like this because of all the bees right there. And there's also kind of a little fog of them around the tree as well. Now, of course, my brain is going, how did I miss that? Well, so, I call him up and say, hey, you got bees in your tree. He said, well, I'll bring home some wasp spray. It's like, no. No. You can't do that. Bees are important. There's honey and there's pollen and all these things. We need this. Haven't you read the news? You need to call a beekeeper. So he gets a hold of a beekeeper, and he calls me back and he says, well, I found out what's going on. He said, they're just moving from one place to another, and the queen got tired. And according to the beekeeper, The only job of that whole swarm of bees at that time was to protect the queen, who was landed on the tree limb in the middle of that, and they were constantly buzzing their little wings, swarming like crazy to protect the queen in this storm that was going on because she was tired. That's good, isn't it, brother? So here's the thing. Here's the point. Maybe we don't call it a queen, but where's your desire? What's our job as Ziegler Legacy certified trainers? What's our job as we go around, and who are we going to be buzzing around to help protect and nurture and help them grow? Do we exactly know if there's one queen or are there many? What would you guys think? See, it's the little things, right, James? Little steps. It's not the big steps. This is a room full of people who have all been I don't know what to call it, blessed, ordained, touched, sent to be leaders. And we get scared about that word, don't we, sometimes? But see, it's just about one at a time. If I can work with Gary, if I can work with Tammy, if I can work with Veronica on an individual basis, and if that turns into a large group of people who can get a blessing all at the same time, that's great. And see, that's the cool thing about desire. Desire is important. And so I want to do something really cool. So we're going to pretend like, we all work at the Flying Z chocolate factory. Who likes chocolate? Who has a thing about Z's? We marry the two together. We have the Flying Z chocolate factory. Of course, everyone named Ziegler in the room was going, yes, baby. I like that Z thing. So we are very blessed that we have a very high-tech security video system that it was installed into the warehouse where you guys all work. And this warehouse produces what? So it's the Flying Z. Okay. Now, two of our employees who are here today, I'm not going to name their names, but they are on this video. If you guys want to pick out who they are from the picture, that's up to you. The video's a little grainy because we didn't spend the big money for the HD color cameras. Right? We just got the black and whites. So give me just a second. I got to switch this over, and I got to get to that just really quick. So you guys give me just 1 second here. Do we have, is there audio on this thing? Is the computer plugged? Perfect. All right, so cool. So while we talk through this so it doesn't sound like there's an awkward pause. Okay, can you expand that? Okay. Big box and hit play. And then we'll have it, right? I'm just talking through it just to sound like I'm doing something. Okay.
The girls will pack it. That's Kanye. Now your job is to
Okay.
Candy will pass by on this conveyor belt and continue into the next room where the girls will pack it. Now your job is to take each piece of candy and wrap it in one of these papers and then put it back on the belt. You understand? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let her roll! Let her roll! Wait here. Somebody's asleep at the switch.
What are you doing up here? I thought you were downstairs boxing chocolates. Oh, they kicked me out of there fast. Why? I kept pinching them to see what kind they were. The fourth apartment I've been in. Oh, I didn't do so well either.
All right, girls. Now, this is your last chance. If one piece of candy gets past you and into the packing room unwrapped, you're fired.
Yes, ma'am.
Let her roll!
Oh, this is easier. Yeah, we can handle it, okay?
All right, so I don't want to name names, Tanya, but here's what we're going to do. There's a problem in the factory. And see, our founder, Mr. Z, he'd have a way to figure this out, but he's not here today. I'm going to count on you guys to come up with a solution of how we can solve some of the problems that are going on there. So just off the top of your head, who wants to tell me some of the problems that they saw in the factory from the videotape? Not enough people. All right, people, training, system, no communication, leadership. Candy's too big. No sanitary gloves. All right. So here's what I want to do. I want to break up into groups of 6. And just because we're kind of all packed together in here, we're just going to kind of do this to where we, first row turn around, second row, or third row, excuse me, turn around, and then split half and half, okay? And what I want you to do over the next 5 minutes or so is I want you to brainstorm. Now, I'm not talking about just solving the problems with definitive answers. I want you to brainstorm as many possible ideas that you can come up with that might help make the Flying Z Chocolate Factory the leader in the industry. Because isn't that what everybody here wants, is for Flying Z to be the leader in the industry? Right? Okay, so you guys brainstorm, and we're going to come back together and we're going to share the ideas that you come up with. So we'll give you a few minutes to do that. So go ahead and turn around and we'll get started on it. And I want to make sure you guys don't look for flaws to your solutions. We're just brainstorming. Come up with 5 or 6 good ones, and then we'll talk about all of them.
Okay. Brainstorm. All right. So one thing I noticed right away is none of that.
And that would give me time.
Oh, I want to be bragged on, don't I, Tom? It's a win-win.
But I'm taking your time to do it. So.
How'd you like my Flying Z Chocolate Factory?
Loved it.
Well, I knew we didn't have like a problem to work on.
So I've used. That was so clever. Man.
24 candies a box, and then
figure out how many can one person handle, and then divide that out by what you want to do. Right. So if you need to do 1,000, and each person can do 100, you need 10 people.
My question was that the accelerated training program?
Train them on what they need to do, and then set the expectation of what they need.
They obviously want to train. So in other words, with some training and some experience, they probably could have learned how to package those things faster, right? Like, you take the wrapper in the left hand and you put the wrapper in with the right hand, and then you twist, right? Okay. And so that's one thing. Number 2 is we need to train the leader to do a better inspection. Because if she had looked closely, she would have seen, she would have seen the hat drooping and the cheeks are out to here.
You guys got somebody writing this down? Okay, good.
So that's how
We should hire Ziegler for training.
Right. So that's the so we need training.
Yeah, training number 1.
Yeah, train them how to do it better and faster, train them leadership.
Yes.
I only hit the microphone once. I knew I would do it somewhere there. It's like, oh man, my hand was, I couldn't quite. Like, oh well.
How long is it going to take to get to full capacity?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you establish an objective, then I can train you on the proper technique to meet those
for as efficiently a price as we can. So is there something we can do to make it more automated? Become more systematized instead of having the people.
Yeah, let's invest in some equipment instead of having people sitting there that could be dealing with clients and entertaining clients, and the machine could be doing more.
Have less waste.
Yeah.
Put it in their mouth. Food costs are going up there.
The only thing that stands out is inspect, you expect, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm stuck on that.
I saw that.
There's one on the floor on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure one of them did.
Or Matt, if you turn it upside down and dump it all out, you can be part of. Don't you remember the video with the? Yeah, just throw ideas out there. Just another minute or so. Yeah. Okay, guys up. Eyes up here for just a second. Matt Rush. Eyes up here, just a second. All right, guys, look up here for just a minute. All right, guys, give me just a minute. Now we're not quite done with the groups yet. We're not quite done. I got one more thing for you to do. Okay. Now remember, you're brainstorming. Okay. It's not about how good the idea is or how bad the idea is. It's just the idea. Okay. And so what I want you to do is I want you guys to get back together for a few more minutes, and I want you to pick 2 of your ideas that you feel are the best out of the ones you came up with, and then I want you to appoint a spokesperson for your group, and we're going to share them with the group, and we're going to talk about them. So if you guys have any trouble picking who is going to be the spokesperson, does everybody know how to do that? Everybody raise your finger in the air. At the same time, you point at the person. Got it. Okay, all right, we'll give you a couple more minutes. You got to pick 2. As long as everybody has a good time and learns something, it's all good. So, you know, I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm going to say this. Who can I get to reprint my certificate? Because you know, our class was all misprinted, kind of. It was like this thing was up here through the little bar going through it and everything. And I thought, it's the original, it's cool, it doesn't matter. I thought, no, I want one that's, yeah. So like the Ziegler logo, okay, of course it doesn't say certified coach, but there's a band around and it's printed up into that band. So, gotcha. All right, we got them? Everybody got it? 2 to share and got a leader for your group? All right, 60 seconds.
No one threw me a Snickers. Oh my word.
Well,
Leadership training, learning how to set
That's better.
but if it's if you've got some real problems with the company, then you use those. But all right, eyes up here, please. All right, guys. All right, who thinks they came up with some really good ones? Who knows they came up with some really good ones? Who knows that they have the absolute best solution to some of the problems in this room?
We have the solution.
Who doesn't want to go first?
He's already standing up.
All right, Tracy, let's do it, man. You can stay there. It's okay. So, actually, you know what? Come up here. Come up here. Come up here.
Yeah, bring this with you.
Exchange it for,
Andre's microphone.
How's that, Howard?
That's good, man.
There you go. Yes, sir. The winner.
Go ahead, man.
Get another booklet?
Winner chicken dinner. Okay. All right. What we talked about, what we discussed amongst our group was what I thought was fantastic and outstanding. Number one that needed to be accomplished was top performance leadership training.
That's right. That's right.
The leadership needed to be trained.
Gotcha. Yep.
The lady just come in and said, "Bring it up. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go." No, but so through that leadership training, we'll get executive level management leadership how to better define requirements and objectives.
Come on now.
Right? So that's what they needed
Nice.
to do. All they do was get the candy going in and out the door. How much candy? How many candy per box? How many boxes per case? What's really the true speed of that conveyor belt? People need to be there, right? So that'll define requirements. Number two, training. Training for the workers.
Yep.
Left hand, piece of paper, right hand, 2 twists, back on the paper, out it goes, right? It wasn't defined. Put the candy in the paper and go. I'm out of here. She tucked in the deuce and she left. Right? That's what happened.
Nice.
That's what happened. I said she tucked in the deuce and she left.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Nice. All right, did everybody understand that? I'm going to translate.
Google that.
She flashed the peace sign at the employees, and she threw her hand, and then she left. So she chucked him the deuce and said, "I'm out of here." Okay, go ahead, Tracy. All right.
I'm out of here. I'm on bounce, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right. Training, let's
Well, they know what we're supposed to do, too.
You're out, man.
2, you're out. Good job. Let's give him a hand. All right, so next up we have Mr. Mark Turner.
Well, after using the DISC method to thoroughly understand who we were dealing with, and noticing that the differential tenor shot was thrown into a real spin.
What?
You got to translate.
Oh, no, I'm not translating that. You're on your own. I was good with the throw Medusa out, but the tenor shot and a tailspin, I don't know, it's like...
So we had the same observations prior to. There was a lack of training, but our solution was, because there's leadership training, there's goal setting and achievement, all these things, we just decided the best solution would be for the Chocolate Factory outsource all training to Ziegler Corporation.
Oh yeah, there's thinking out of the box.
So that takes care of our second one, which was a leadership problem, which we've already seen. But that's taken care of because now they've outsourced everything.
All right, so let me make sure I understand the solution. The solution is to dump it off on somebody else to solve. Is that pretty much it? I'm just kidding. No, you're right.
But we guarantee results.
Hire the right people. So if the Flying Z Chocolate Factory was to contact this company you mentioned, Ziegler Performance?
Yeah,
Ziegler, whatever it is.
All encompassing.
They sound like they're related. I'm just not sure. So that would solve the problem, and we get the training.
Absolutely. It's been known to cure everything.
Cancer and everything else.
Power 'em. Get it done.
Good. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Let's give Mr. Turner a hand. All right. Who's next?
Over here.
Come on up. The beautiful Miss Nikki.
So, step number 1 is hire a ZLC trainer. And then ask them what their problem is and how we can help.
There you go. Pretty simple. Oh, that wasn't two?
We're confident that we can help them reach that solution. No. Oh, and you have to install a button to stop it. Then we would like to offer you a button to slow down, pause, or stop. The conveyor belt.
Yeah. Yeah, and who was it that came up with the stop button? Okay. All right, let's give Nikki a big hand. Way to go, Nikki. Good job. All right, who's next? Who's next? Who's next? This group over here? Yeah, we did it. Who's next? Justin, come on.
All right. So we basically come up with some that was more functionality and then others that were more the mindset behind what we were doing. So with function, mainly just training. They obviously needed a lot of training there. And then as far as the mindset, the person's purpose, as long as they understand the purpose of what they're doing, they'll obviously perform better, and all those dots will connect for them. So that's it.
Yeah.
Is that a Manhattan accent?
That is.
All right, so here's my question. If you use this format to address problems in your real workplace, could you see it providing the path to get into the answers? Who could see that happening? Yes. Right? Why do you think it brings out so much? What is it that just, anybody want to contribute? Just why do you think getting together in a group like that brings out that information like that? Perfect. Everyone has ideas. See, I know that some of the stuff we heard, some of you were thinking, man, that's silly. And some of you were thinking, man, that's good. But bringing all the ideas together marries the creativity of the group as a whole. Am I right? Yeah. And are we better thinking as one or better thinking as a group? Group. So brainstorming is a beautiful way to do that. So just want to share that with you. So a lot of fun. So let's do this. Let's turn to page 21 in your work group, or your workbook, excuse me. And we are not going to get into a group for this one. Right? This one is strictly confidential. This one is strictly something I want you to, I don't want you to take a lot of time on. We're going to go pretty fast on this, but I really want you to think about the answers. Okay, so top of the page, okay, it says we limit our choices by what we believe we have to do or what we think we can't do. The greatest temptation is to settle for too little. A lot of times that has to do with our language and how we talk and how we think about things. So on this page here, there's the questions. I ought to, I should, there's no way to. Here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to put in there something and try to, like I said, this is confidential. This is for you. So really try to use this as a point to grow. Something in your life, in your work, in your personal life, professional life, whatever it is, something that's real to you, try to finish those sentences out. Okay? Try to finish those out. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. It's entirely up to you. Of course, if you put the same thing on everyone, I'm going to make you read that to the class. But other than that, no, I'm just kidding, Tom. All right, just 60 seconds. Hey, James, Evan, need to see you guys after school. All right, guys. Here's the point of this. A lot of times we limit ourselves. Whether that's obligations in the workplace, obligations in our life, we come up with reasons to limit ourselves. And I'll give you a quick example why words and thought process are really important before we do the second part of this exercise. So I have a fairly large vehicle, and I've had it for 10 years. Over that 10-year period, probably about 100 times, I've gone to one of those automatic car wash things. You know, you drive through the tunnel, right? You guys have done that, right? And so, of course, mine's a little big, and so sometimes, you know, the equipment that they have won't facilitate the vehicle. And that's okay. I get it. I'm used to that. So the other day, I went to go get my car washed, and I pulled up to this place, and this guy comes trucking out to me pretty quick, like this. And he's shaking his head like this, and it's like, okay, I know what's going on. And so I rolled down the window, and I said, you guys, y'all can't take care of me today? And he said no, and he kind of hits the mirror on my car, kind of just like, you know, kind of one of those, you know, like our parents used to do when we were in trouble and they were going, wait till I get you home kind of thing. He kind of patted on the mirror just a little bit, and he goes, yeah, these things aren't made very good, and when it goes through, it knocks all the parts off. Now, I just smiled, you know, it was like, okay, whatever. You could have just said that you couldn't handle it. That's okay, that the equipment isn't made for my vehicle. That's, like I said, I'd been through these things like 100 times, never had any of the pieces fall off. What did he do? Did he limit their income for that day? In the back of my head, right, I'll never go back there because, you know, not only did he insult my car, which in Texas, that's not something you do. Unless it's a Prius, and that's okay. But see, what he could have done, if he would have gotten out of that box right there, if he'd have gotten out of the box and said, you know what, we can't run it through here because our equipment's too old and it might mess up your vehicle, but we can pull it right over here and do a hand car wash for you. Right? Don't we do that to ourselves all the time too? Don't a lot of times we go, I can't do that. I'll just do this instead. It's easier. I don't have to try as hard. Somebody said I couldn't do it. They said it can't be done, right? Same thing with our language. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to take the sentences, right? Take the sentences, and we're going to take and we're going to change the wording. Those first couple of words that were already there, I want you to mark those out. And if you guys will look on page 22, there's some examples there that you can use. I want you to change the words. I want you to change the words to either I want to, or I can, or I get to, or I choose to, or I'm allowed to. Yes, sir?
You know, Rodney, something else that could have happened there was he could have transferred limitations, the thought process of having a limitation onto you as well. Because had you just purchased that car, you may have said, oh, I'm not allowed to, or I may lose parts of my car.
That's right.
And you could have believed that and carried that belief system with you.
That's right. No, great point. Our words can also put limits on other people. If I would have just purchased that car, like Mike said, I might have all of a sudden felt like I was doomed and I could not take my car to an automatic car wash anywhere. I would have thought that, hey, I'm done. Now I'm going to have to go and wash myself or pay extra to have it hand washed all the time. So we have to be really careful about the words that we use. Great point.
And be mad at the person that sold it to you and not telling you that.
No, I still like the car, so that'd have been okay. But you're right, Howard.
I said to Mike, Rodney.
Okay, so I'm going to make another W. I'm going to put a circle through it with a big hash mark like this, and I'm going to take it to Mr. Howard Partridge.
We're second runner-up.
You're second runner-up on the no whining zone? I love you, Howard.
Hey, I love you, Tom.
I love you, man. I love you, man.
Don't anybody tell him I stuck that on his back. I know, right? All right, so real quick. Did anybody see a change in the way that those sentences came across to you yourself? Okay? See, it's really important what words that we choose. When we start talking about obligations and limitations, and they don't just affect us, they affect everyone around us as well. And it's really important that we're very careful with the wording. And so I want you guys at the bottom of page 22, I want you to look at this really quick. Okay? It says it often seems less of a burden or chore when we use words that remind us we are choosing our actions. Changing our words reminds us that we're responsible. Last sentence, I want everybody to read it together. Okay? This week, I will be solution-oriented and not problem-focused. I will be intelligently ignorant. Woo-hoo! All right. Next page. Last little exercise. We're going to do this really quick, and then I've got something really cool to share with you guys as we finish this up. So I want you to just kind of take we're just a minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe, and there's a contract here, and this contract is with yourself. Who's the only person that you can't lie to? You can try, right? But you know you're lying, so you don't get away with it. Pick something that we've talked about through this whole course that you'd like to put as your contract to yourself that you're going to focus on and get started on today. Okay, just a couple of minutes. Finish filling that out real quick. Just put the basics there. You don't have to put the full paragraph, and then sign the bottom. You can finish filling it out later. But I just wanted to get this part started for you. All right, 60 seconds. Turn to someone, your neighbor, and tell them what you're going to get started on this week. Y'all can do that now. All right, guys. I know I didn't give you a lot of time to really discuss it, but I just wanted you to say it out loud to somebody else. Okay? Really important. When we make a commitment, it's always good to say it out loud to somebody else so they can call you on it. There goes the air out of Jacob's tires. All right, so look, put down your books, put your pens away. I want you guys to really kind of just take off your I'm in a class hat for a second. Okay? And I want to share a video with you, and I want you to really kind of think about how it could apply to you personally. Right? Just kind of pay attention. It's really cool. I came across this the other day. Oh no. Tanya, I got no volume here.
You gotta turn it up on the knob in front of you, by your knee.
Okay. It's okay, it's going again, so. Well, it just was showing mute when it buzzed over. Let me open it again real quick, because I really want to show you guys this. Let me just try one more time to pull this up.
I don't know. Because I can hear it buzzing, so I know the speaker's wrong. It's the mute button on the keyboard. Try it on the keyboard. It's right there. We're up. I mean, it's up there.
See. Nope.
Yeah, volume.
I know. How many ZLCers does it take, too? Let's do this. I'm going to turn this one off. Okay, and where do I get another, I want to get to YouTube again.
How many ZLCers does it take to unmute?
Matt, you can come up anytime.
Okay. No, it's good.
Like that yesterday.
Okay, let's see. This is really good. Well, we were. Wait a minute. Everyday leadership. Please work. Please work.
How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. And I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do, that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader, and we don't let ourselves take credit for it, and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school on a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, "I remember the first time that I met you." And then she told me a story that happened 4 years earlier. She said, on my day before I started university, I was in the hotel room with my mom and my dad, and I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, "Look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day, and if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us, we will take you home. We love you no matter what." And she said, so I went the next day and I was standing in line getting ready for registration, and I looked around and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she says, I made that decision, and as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the Student Union building wearing the stupidest hat I have ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shinorama, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along, and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shinorama. And all of a sudden, you got to me, and you just stopped, and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me, and you smiled, and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop, and you held it out to him. And you said, you need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you. And she said, I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turned beet red. He wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face, and you looked at my mom and my dad, and you said, look at that. Look at that. First day away from home, and already she's taking candy from a stranger. And she said everybody lost it. 20 feet in every direction, everyone started to howl. And I know this is cheesy, and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but in that moment when everyone was laughing, I knew that I shouldn't quit. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be, and I knew that I was home. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that day, but I heard that you were leaving. And I had to come up and tell you that you've been an incredibly important person in my life, and I'm gonna miss you. Good luck. And she walks away, and I'm flattened. And she gets about 6 feet away, she turns around and smiles and goes, you should probably know this too. I'm still dating that guy 4 years later. A year and a half after I moved to Toronto, I got an invitation to their wedding. Here's the kicker, I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that moment, and I've searched my memory banks because that is funny, and I should remember doing it, and I don't remember it. And that was such an eye-opening, transformative moment for me to think that maybe the biggest impact I'd ever had on anyone's life, a moment that had a woman walk up to a stranger 4 years later and say, you've been an incredibly important person in my life, was a moment that I didn't even remember. How many of you guys have a lollipop moment, a moment where someone said something or did something that you feel fundamentally made your life better? All right. How many of you have told that person they did it? See, why not? We celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. And yet we've got people who have made our lives better walk around without knowing it. And every single one of you has been the catalyst for a lollipop moment. You have made someone's life better by something that you said or that you did. And if you think you haven't, think about all the hands that didn't go back up when I asked that question. You're just one of the people who hasn't been told. But it is so scary to think of ourselves as that powerful. It can be frightening to think that we can matter that much to other people. Because as long as we make leadership something bigger than us, as long as we keep leadership something beyond us, as long as we make it about changing the world, we give ourselves an excuse not to expect it every day from ourselves and from each other. Marianne Williamson said, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us. And my call to action today is that we need to get over that. We need to get over our fear of how extraordinarily powerful we can be in each other's lives. We need to get over it so we can move beyond it. And our little brothers and our little sisters, and one day our kids, or our kids right now, can watch us start to value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and titles and influence. We need to redefine leadership as being about lollipop moments. How many of them we create, how many of them we acknowledge, how many of them we pay forward, and how many of them we say thank you for. Because we've made leadership about changing the world, and there is no world. There's only 6 billion understandings of it. And if you change one person's understanding of it, one person's understanding of what they're capable of, one person's understanding of how much people care about them, one person's understanding of how powerful an agent for change they can be in this world, you've changed the whole thing. And if we can understand leadership like that, I think if we can redefine leadership like that, I think we can change everything. And it's a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small one. And I want to thank you all so much for letting me share it with
you today. Drew Dudley.
Give a little time for the child within you. Don't be afraid to be young and free. And do relax and play with toys and take conditions of the
This could be an ad for a scary movie or something.
Doesn't take much.
That's what they do nowadays, don't they?
And see, the reality is, guys, eyes up here, it doesn't take much.
That's right.
Just as easily as we could all be distracted and take off along with a cute song playing there, we can easily make somebody's day or ruin their day. And we got this little pin that we wear, right? It's got a whole lot of weight that goes with it. See, here's the thing about it is we're not the one carrying that weight. Not by ourselves. We all are. So there's not one big responsibility on any of us specifically as that leader. There's that responsibility for us to do the right thing every day and stick to the values that we set forth in this program. That's right. And see, as we talk about building the best you to a group of people who are out teaching other people how to build the best you, our responsibility is tenfold of theirs. And so I wanted to share that with you because it's not too big for us, guys, because it's just one step at a time. One little piece, every little day. Think the right things, say the right things, share the right things. And we can turn the Flying Z Chocolate Factory into a mammoth organization. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Nice. Who knew that Rodney was smart?
I know, right? I know.
Wow.
Well, Tom introduced me. I was going to share some wisdom. I had to come up with something.
You did. You did good.
And she thinks she's not funny.
I don't know why I said that. I think I'm hilarious. I'm
I
just
agree.
not Brian funny. Okay. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. Great job. I want to point out just a couple of things. When something was confidential, he made that very clear. That will make a big difference in what they actually write down and how deeply they take that into heart. So when something's confidential, you need to let them know. Also, when you have them write something and then you're going to have them share it, and you had them write something personal, but you knew it wasn't going to be confidential, I would say, okay, now you're going to have to turn around and share that with your neighbor. If you need to edit, a minute to edit, let's do that. And then kind of laugh, because sometimes people write things and then they go, you have to share it, and they're not quick enough to come up with something else, and they really want to share that, right? So, very good. Thank you for role modeling that for us. Okay, so when you're giving instructions, and then you're going to let you go into a group. So when he did that brainstorming activity with you guys, he read the instructions out of the manual, because what happens is you give the instructions, you get them in the groups, and what does at least one person say in every group? What do we do? And if you read out the manual, they know where to go and look to see where it is, as opposed to going, Rodney, come over here. And Rodney can't go to 6 places at once, right? And so thank you for role modeling that for us. When he had you come up here and give the group reports, he was very specific. A couple of y'all didn't really listen, but he was very specific. He said, come up and give us 2 ideas, right? And so you don't want, because here's what happens if you don't do that, especially a listing activity. Group number 1 comes up and lists their 10 ideas. Group number 2 comes up and goes, well, that basically but we had a couple of good ideas, 2 more ideas. And then group 3, 4, 5, and 6 are like, well, who feels good about that exercise? Group 1, man, we rocked it. So you give me 2, you give me 2, and the only thing I would have added to that was give me 2 different solutions than what you've heard it from your group. That's the only thing I would have added to that, and so that you didn't get that repetition of that. There was something I wanted to put up here. Oh yeah. So when you come up here, and you may have sweat dripping down your back and butterflies flying in your stomach because you know all these people, and that's the hardest group to do, but you're comfortable, you're poised. How does that make everybody else feel? Yeah, he's got it. Ooh, right. So all of us can do that, because even though you may have all this stuff going on inside, you don't have to show it. And there are things that you can do, and we taught you those things in the first class about your posture, and then you'll get your comfort stride. But if you come up here and you don't look like you know what you're doing, you're scaring the rest of us. So good job with that, man. We felt like we were in good hands with you, Rodney. So good job with that. Let's hear it again for Rodney. All right, here's how impressive Rodney is. Guys, it's 12:25. And y'all were still right there with him, right? Instead of going, I'm hungry. I know, isn't that good? Chuck put a card on my computer, and I was like, oh, good, I have a card from Chuck. And then it kind of fell over, and I was like, oh. So he's got a card, in case you guys don't know that, For you with an I like on the back. Isn't that a good idea? Oh, y'all already knew. All right. Well, I'm a step behind, but I sure did like it. Thank you very much.
Yesterday, girl. Great idea.
Oh, 12:30. We're going to come back at 1:30 and start. We're obviously a little bit behind, but no worries. We'll still be out by 7. Don't worry about it. At 1, the 4 people, because Mahongo was one of them, the 4 people that were the leaders of the brainstorming session yesterday, so that's Evan, James, Michael, and Mahongo, you guys are going to, we'll just be over there. We'll still be eating. You guys are going to give us a summary of what went on in your session. And by summary, I mean 2 or 3 minutes, because we can all come up and we can look at all the different ideas, but at least give us a summary. No, I'd bring them if I were you. I mean, that would be me. But I'm not going to make you do.
I'm going to do it because I want to be you.
We're going to call you Bruce Jenner.
And she says she's not funny.
All right, 12:30, 1 o'clock. We're going to hear from these guys.
Wow. I've got a Breedify app, and I can like take pictures of the 2 of you guys.
Breedify? Oh, let's not. That's just weird. 1:30.
He's just weird.
Creepy and weird that you would even put that on your phone.